I'd heard many tales of human endurance in my time as a soldier. The lowest of grunts spread stories of humans replacing their broken bits with steel just to stay in the fight. Officers would brief us on their ability to replenish losses, getting slightly queasy while refusing to elaborate how. Everyone knew humanity embraced the replacement of lost or damaged organs, but I always thought many of the stories were heavily exaggerated. That is until I walked into a bar one fateful night. It was on the planet of Kandesh, in a region of dense jungle, a region I once served in. Memories of the pouring rain and swarming insects had hit me like a truck, and I fled to this bar to escape the pain. I sat down at the counter and ordered a beer, one of my favorite human inventions. To my surprise, the cloaked being next to me was a human, seemingly lost in thought while drinking a glass of whiskey. After drinking half my beer, I gained the courage to begin a conversation with the man. "You serve here too?" His glazed eyes suddenly came back to reality, and he lifted his scarred face to meet my gaze. "I." His head shocked me. Half of his face was withered and wrinkled, peppered with scar tissue and deep gouges where healthy flesh used to be. His one biological eye was clouded and scarred. The other half of his face was almost all made of metal, where he once had skin and bone. Now only existed scratched and scraped metal plate. His mechanical eye focused on me with a menacing red bead, all evidence of his sacrifices during service. "You look a little worse for wear. You get all that here on Kandesh?" The man took another drink of his whiskey. "Not all of it." The man seemed to go into a trance. I knew the expression. He was going back to the war within his mind. It was back in 2547 when I got the eye, a routine patrol around Samson's capital. The soldier's recount was so detailed, I also fell into a trance and experienced his life like a movie. He walked calmly with his commanding officer and a couple of soldiers. He was at the back of the group. The four men patrolled down a busy street. Civilians surrounded the men completely, parting like waters around a ship as they carried on with their lives. All of the soldiers were drowsy. They'd been in Samson for over 4 months without incident, and not a single shot had been fired out of any of their weapons. They got complacent, thinking they were totally safe, and didn't even bat an eye when they came across a small group of Samsonites who wouldn't part around them. There were 3, 2 of them staring at the ground, one of them staring directly at the now old man who sits beside me. His eyes were boiling with rage. The soldier saw it and dove to the ground screaming, "Get down!" The other 3 soldiers reacted too slowly. The Samsonite blew up in a shower of gore and shrapnel. A sharp piece of metal lodged itself in the soldier's eye. His commanding officer and 2 friends weren't that lucky. The pressure killed his commanding officer immediately. Shrapnel went straight into a soldier named Chip's heart. He only lived for a matter of seconds before falling into shock and dying. The 3rd soldier, Ryan, got hit by a mountain of shrapnel, yet he still lived for another couple of minutes. He died in the old man's arms only seconds before the paramedics arrived. In the aftermath of the event, 3 human soldiers were killed, 3 Samsonite terrorists blew themselves up, 15 civilians died of their injuries, 25 more were injured, and the old man got his bionic eye. "Samson," I muttered. "It's been a while since I've been reminded of that shithole. I served as a sniper there, 2547, 2550. Worst 3 years of my life. Other than Kandesh, of course." The human seemed to fixate his gaze on me, tuning in with 100% attention. "You a Fed?" There was no point lying to the man. When the war was over, I went home to a new era. I was so certain that we'd pull it off eventually, but you buggers just never seemed to die. I chuckled at my remark and downed the last of my beer. For my last year on Samson, I was tasked with hunting down the one man, the man who would come to be the only one I never could kill. The man perked up a little. "Tell me." I asked the bartender for another drink, and while I waited, I continued the story. It was a human. I remember command making that fact excruciatingly clear. They'd tell me, "Make sure you aim true. They have a tendency to keep coming back." I thought they were just fucking with me. They weren't. I came across this soldier in the urban hell that was Qdar. He was alone. bloodied from previous fighting. Command told me he was one of the most lethal Republic assets on the planet. He didn't look so lethal through my scope. The bartender came back with my drink. Thanks. I took a swig and went back to my conversation. He was just sitting there. I put the crosshairs right on his head and squeezed. The shot looked perfect, until he jerked his head to look at something I couldn't see. What should have went straight through his dome ended up hitting him in the jaw. It was broken and dangling from his head. I thought to myself, there's no way in hell he survives that. The bastard scampered away, and that was the last time I saw him on Samson. High Command told me he was still active. We left the planet only 2 weeks after I'd gotten word. The human soldier across from me was deadpan, as if he was processing something far beyond what I'd said. What's wrong? I asked. The human refocused and said, what a coincidence that. He took another swig of whiskey. I lost my damn jaw in the last weeks of Samson. Must have been me. I laughed and took a swig. The human, realizing the absurdity of the situation, fell into a fit of hysterical laughter. He raised a glass and bellowed, "To Samson!" "To Samson," I replied and took another drink of my beer. I then turned the focus of the conversation back to the jungle we found ourselves in now. What about Khandesh? How'd you fare here? The human, now thoroughly drunk, responded, "Oh, it was shit. Lost me arm, lost me leg. Even lost my socks one time. I lost my arm and leg on the same day. Now that's a story and a half." He stopped to drink some more. He went into another trance, dragging me along with him. He was walking through a dense bog with water up to his waist and bugs swarming around his face. He turned for a split second to talk to his buddy Ramirez, something along the lines of, "The Packers are going all the way this year. I'm telling you, our bad luck is over." Ramirez was a fan of a rival team, the Detroit Lions, and wasn't quite so sure about the Packers' upcoming victory. "Your boys haven't made the playoffs in 5 years. What makes you think this one will be any different?" The then young man wasn't just going to take that, so he shot back, "At least the Packers have won a Super Bowl. Just you wait, it's going to happen this year." This was apparently a sore subject for Ramirez. The Lions had made it to this Super Bowl last year, but got beat in a very close game. Neither of the men spoke for at least a minute before the young man was rocked by a powerful explosion. Just seconds after stepping on a landmine, the man collapsed onto a nearby tree for support. That's when he caught a glimpse of the reflection of a sniper scope in a tree line not far from his position. The soldier raised his gun and took aim at the sniper, pulling the trigger on the sniper right as the sniper shot at him. "Wait a minute." A sniper shot at him. At the same time as he shot? "Hold up," I said. "Did you hit the sniper?" Taken aback, the man replied, "Yeah, but it just grazed the side of his head. I must have jerked the trigger." I faded out of the conversation completely as I instinctively reached to the scarred tissue on my scalp, the area of my head where I'd just barely avoided death by the human I was trying to hunt down once again. I locked eyes with the soldier in front of me, the jaw, the arm, the leg. I'd shot a soldier in the jaw on Samson. I shot that same soldier in the arm on Khandesh. After he'd stepped on a landmine, that same soldier managed to graze the side of my head. My God, it's him. He abruptly stopped talking once he noticed the scar. "Where the hell did you get that?" "Khandesh, after I'd shot a man's arm off. After that man stepped on a landmine." I saw his bionic eye focus. His grip was tightening onto something at his hip. I realized my hand was also instinctively planted on my holstered gun by my side. I stopped to think rationally for a second. All of this is long in the past. I took my hand off my gun and instead placed it on my beer. "You're the ghost." He seemed to calm himself as well. "You're the sharpshooter. What are the chances," I took a long drink of beer, "that on this night the two of us would end up here once again?" He took another drink of whiskey. "Huh." He turned to me and said, "Must be the universe's way of telling you you're a shit shot." All the tension in the room suddenly vanished as we both broke out into hysterics once again. "Go look at a mirror." The two of us laughed heartily for the rest of the night, exchanging stories about our experiences on all of the different conflicts we found ourselves in. Tomorrow I'll be going to visit the old soldier for a Packer game back on Earth. After our encounter on Kendesh, I've started thinking a lot about our unknowingly shared experiences throughout the years. I'm starting to think that it's a damn good thing I couldn't make the shot count. After all, who would have paid for all my beers that night, if I had?
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.